once again. Welcome to Fred's Footy Fest, and today we'll be looking at round 23 of the NRL Premiership. So to kick us off, we have a clash between the Roosters and Manly on Thursday night. Now for this one, a lot of you guys have tipped the Roosters, so I'm pretty convinced. I think the Roosters, they lost to the Broncos last week, but it is the Broncos. Whereas Manly, on the other hand, only just got the win against the Dragons. In my opinion, and all of you guys I think should agree, that Roosters are a better side than the Dragons. So I think that the Roosters, it's going to be tough, but I think they should get a comfortable win. That's why I'm going to have my margin as 12. Moving on, Friday 6 o'clock is the Titans and the Warriors. This one's a no-brainer. I think I'm going to tip the Warriors. They're sitting in third place, a massive improvement from last season. I think they're going to go a long way this year. So, and especially coming up against the Titans, I could expect possibly a 30-0 game. So I'm going to tip the Warriors. I mean, they did slip up a bit against the Raiders in their last game. But against the Titans, I can't see anything like that happening. And if it does, that would just be sad. So I think I should tip the Warriors. Moving on, 8 o'clock Friday night, it's the Panthers and the Storm. Now it looks like everyone has written off the Storm. And they're $3.20 to win this. So everyone's saying the Panthers. And I wonder why. Wait, I know. It's because they held the Sharks at 0 last week. 28-0. That's amazing from the Western Sydney club. So they've easily shown everyone they're the best side in the current NRL era at the moment. So I honestly can't see Penrith being challenged in this one. Potentially they might if Storm play how they did last time. But Panthers, they're just such a dominant side. They have been for the past 4 years. And I think it's going to take a side that's just as good to beat them. So I'm going to have to tip the Panthers. Moving on, Saturday at 3, it's the Cowboys and the Broncos. Now the Cowboys lost to the Titans last week. That's just disappointing. For a club that I thought were going to continue their streak till finals footy, they have lost to a side that everyone knows won't make finals footy this year. So I can easily say the Broncos will get the job done. However, Cowboys always have a good game when they're at home. But coming up against the Broncos, it's going to take a lot of effort to beat such a powerhouse. So I think I'll have to tip the Broncos. 5:30 is a clash between the Dolphins and the Knights. First of all, I'm going to tip the Knights, easily. They've been a good side so far, just in the past 2 weeks. Beating the Storm, that was a massive upset. And then coming up and flogging the Raiders, who are in the top 8. So, Knights have made a massive improvement. I think their defence is pretty good, and Kalen Ponga is steering them in the right direction. So, I think Knights could potentially get back into finals footy. But it's just going to take a few more wins, I reckon, and they'll have to limit their losses to probably no less than 1, maybe 2, depending on how other clubs play. But I think if they're gonna want to play finals footy, they need to just keep winning, I reckon. That's everyone's objective, so yeah. And coming up against the Dolphins, I think Knights, they should easily get this job done, I reckon. 7:35, it's a clash between the Rabbitohs and the Sharks. Now, I think I'm easily going to tip the Rabbitohs. They pretty much are at full strength now. Up against the Tigers, they were ahead by 2 points at one point, 20-18. But they easily showed the Tigers that they were the better team. Now, the Sharks, on the other hand, they have no fullback. Will Kennedy is injured last week against the Panthers, and that is a crucial loss. If you lose your fullback, you're in strife. So, and the Sharks, they have dropped all of a sudden. Like, their defence is just rubbish at the moment. And they were going so good, I thought, up until that game against Manly. They just flopped. Like I want to see. I'm gonna have to see a lot of improvement from the club, because they're slowly slipping out of the 8, and it's very disappointing for a club that had high expectations to take out the trophy this year. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything from the club. I'm not convinced at the moment. They're going to have to pick their game up, but for now, I think I'll have to tip the Bunnies. Sunday, 2 o'clock, it's the Eels and the Dragons. Last week, the Eels were flogged by Melbourne Storm, but coming up against Dragons, I can't see them being challenged at all. They are a pretty good side when they want to be, but they lack the consistency, so they're not a very consistent team. So I think that if they want to, well, they're sitting in 11th place, so I can say if they want to play finals footy, same with Knights, they just need to get some more wins, like stay consistent and make sure they have better defence. And they have the forwards for it, so it is possible. But I think they'll be good enough to beat the Dragons. So, yep, I'm tipping the Eels. And the final match to wrap up this week is a clash between the Raiders and the Tigers. Last week, the Raiders were embarrassed by the Knights. You can't get any sadder than that. Whereas the Tigers, on the other hand, they've actually gone backwards from last year, because they were 16th last year. Now there's an extra team. They've gone backwards. They're now 17th. That's just disappointing. I honestly think they need to do some reshuffling, the Tigers. They are not getting anywhere. And I think they're just going to lose too many good players and too many coaches. So they need to sort their stuff out now. So that's obvious. I'm tipping the Raiders. They'll bounce back, and especially up against the Tigers. Like, I'm honestly not convinced that the Tigers are going to win this. So I'm sorry, Tigers fans, but maybe you should consider switching to a better team. So I'm going to tip the Raiders. Yep, that's my tips for this week. Tune in next week for some more great games, and we'll have a bit of a sticky beak now. Thursday night will be Manly and the Panthers. That'll be a pretty good game to watch. Friday will be a clash between the Sharks and the Titans. Unsure about that one, actually. Broncos and Eels will be the Friday night game. Saturday, another charity shield match in the Rabbitohs and the Dragons, followed by Tigers and the Warriors. And the Saturday night game will be for the Arthur Beetson medal. It's the Roosters and the Dolphins. Sunday, we will have Melbourne Storm and the Raiders. And to wrap us up, we will have the Knights and the Bulldogs. And the Cowboys will have the bye. And I'll see you then, folks. Bye.